Mr. Mohandas Pai, it's a pleasure to welcome you.
Thank you.
You've been a big proponent on spreading the right kind of education, right kind of technology application in India. There are both groups which say that traditional education has been very good so far, but the world has evolved, world has changed, we are competing at a global scale. So your thoughts on what works right and what doesn't?
Well, I think we've got to use technology in education because the child has to be prepared for the future, and the future is going to be based on technology. So we've got to use technology in education to improve the quality of the educational experience. And we've got to make sure that content is available to every single child. The world has gone through 3 phases of educational experience. The first was Education 1.0, when you had the academy in Greece and the Gurukuls in India, where there was a teacher, the elite went to him and they stayed with him and they debated as one-on-one. Then we went to the industrial era, Education 2.0, where there was broadcast from one to many. So there was a teacher who read all the books, there were students who came, sat down, listened to him, took the notes, wrote an exam, got a certificate, were educated. Now that was information dissemination, teaching them how to think. Now all that information that you get for 12 years of school and possibly for 4 years of college is available on the web free of charge with great lectures. So the content is available, all you have to do is Google and see how Google has become a generic term. But you have to teach people how to be problem solvers. So we have to go from rote learning to problem solving like you do in the United States to a large way. Because in the United States, information dissemination has been downgraded somewhat and problem solving has been enhanced, and that's the kind of educational model that you have to go. And for that, technology is important, technological dissemination is important, access to technology is important, problem solving is important. And for problem solving, the pedagogy has to change. The way you approach things have to change. You've got to encourage students to speak up. You've got to encourage students to look at the world and come and ask the big questions and see how they have to work out and go on a voyage of discovery. And that requires a lot of investment, that requires a very fresh way of thinking. It's going to take time. But my view is education has to use technology as the platform along with the human contact to give a greater educational experience.
And in countries especially like India, you need government empowerment, government resources. And there's been a lot of push towards this by the current government, and you are at the epicenter of where this is happening. How do you see that can impact from the government?
I think our political leadership is very responsive to people's needs. For example, today there are 265 million young children in school. Almost all kids go to school. There's a dropout. Maybe at the end of 12 years of schooling, maybe 25%, 30% dropout, which is a tragedy, and the dropout is decreasing year by year. But then we need to make 12 years of schooling mandatory for every child. Now the right to education, 8 years of schooling is mandatory. We've got to make 12 years of schooling mandatory. The biggest challenge in using technology is not technology or money, it is the teachers. We have 12 million teachers in school. Okay, 12 million. 12 million teachers in school, a large number of teachers, right? Now you've got to retrain them, you've got to make them get attuned to technology, a new way of teaching. That's going to take time.
Right.
So we are seeing technology becoming the platform at the edge. We are seeing in urban areas learning getting disrupted. Now, education has got 2 components. One is about the regulatory aspect, about courses, pedagogy, about content, about credits, etc. And the second one is primarily about the learning experience. The learning experience is one-on-one, individualistic, it's not collective, right? And that is getting disrupted by technology. So we see in urban areas, companies coming up and give the learning experience, but the other aspect, regulations, is going to take time. So a period of time in India, we see disruption at the edge of the learning experience. The pedagogy and the regulatory aspect will take some more time. So we see many interesting things happening in India. And to my view, it's not technology or money that's the challenge, it is retraining all the teachers.
We also need to create leaders, and leaders at every level, at education, entrepreneurially, government, social, at each strata of society. How about looking into this aspect of building leadership?
I think there are a lot of leaders in India, you don't know them. They're all local leaders. You got maybe too many political leaders too. There are people who are leaders. What is essential is we must make sure that many of the leaders are empowered and there is greater space, and we must make sure the educated class plays its role in community building. For the last 30 years, we've seen the educated class withdraw from community. They're a part of community, but they stay at a distance. Now, communities must take charge of the future like you do in the United States. So we need to have much more community participation. And if communities come forward, many things can be done by the community. We don't require a government. A community has to play a role in society to keep society together and do many things, right? And we can't expect government to do everything. Government is at best a entity which makes sure that the rules and regulations of society are obeyed and implemented, but they cannot do everything. Society goes forward in the large community participation, and that has to happen. I think now the educated class is realizing they can't keep distant from the community, they can't be an island to themselves, they got to participate because everybody is part of the same ecosystem. And if something goes wrong in the ecosystem, you too suffer. And the government is not going to set it right. So there has to be more community activism, there has to be citizen activism, more participation in the direction of debate where the country has to go. So we are seeing all this come together, and it's coming together because we have an educated middle class. We have a class of people who have a stake in society, who have bought properties, who educate their children, want to make a good society for themselves, and they're not dependent upon government for subsidies or for doles or anything like that. They're economically rather well off. An ecosystem has been created, and it's only a middle class comes up in every country. You see a transformation, but it's happening. But we have a problem about scale. We are 1.3 billion people. We got a 300 million educated class, right? So the scale of India is what is impacting everybody. So you're not going to see rapid change. I mean, 300 million people, the population of the United States. Right. 265 million children in school is just less than the population of the United States, 315. No country has undergone the transformation that India has with such diversity. We got so many diverse communities, people in different stages of the evolution of their lives, and so many different languages. It's a great, unbelievable experiment. It is a world in microcosm in India, 17% of humanity. So all these things are happening. And let me say, in the conference, I made a remark that the next 10 years are going to be the most exciting period of India's growth. We're going to grow at 8 to 9%. We're going to see change happen. We're going to see a young generation of leaders come up like him. And these are the people who are going to bring the change. They're going to imbibe technology. They're going to see this change happening. And they're going to be multiple voices. And we are very different. And we are going to remake the world.
Great, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.